At some point, humans began to ask the question, what does this mean? What's the meaning of it all? The meaning of life, the meaning of what's going on around them, and so forth. And then I suppose that question of what is meaning became more sophisticated, and the question, well, what's true? Or what's truth itself? Followed. And this questioning became ever more sophisticated and really systematic. That is, you didn't just ask, well, what does this mean and that mean? You would deal with the question, what does it all mean? What's the meaning of all reality, of my whole life, of everybody's life? And so the systems of meaning developed, and there were a variety of them. And as I said, they became quite sophisticated and comprehensive, because the more, in a sense, you know about the world, then the bigger your system can become of understanding it. And when you come across new data, new experience, new things, let's say, how will it fit into your system? What place will it have in your perspective? We came to call these systems worldviews. What is our worldview? How do we view the world so that everything in the world fits into that view? And these worldviews, and asking that question, what do things mean, is not just in the realm, let's say, of philosophy or of science. It is also in the realm of religion. A religious worldview, a way of putting it all together that includes God. And in fact, the Greek ancient worldview had a place for God, a place for life, and a place for the world. The theos, the God, the bios, the life, the cosmos, the world. Everything had its place, and it was in harmony with each other. And this harmony was to be maintained at all cost, in a way. Even God couldn't break out of the harmony and disturb the worldview or the system, how everything worked together, fit together, what made sense. It all made sense, and for God to make sense, God had to be one and simple, and God had to be someone who didn't get involved in the messiness of the world. God didn't change, God didn't suffer, but yet God, in a sense, was not free to break the harmony. So religion itself has a worldview where everything fits, everything makes sense, and if something doesn't make sense, if we can't fit it into our worldview, our perspective, then we tend to reject it. It doesn't make sense, so let's just leave it alone. Jesus asked his disciples, who do people say that I am? And they gave answers such as Elijah and John the Baptist, people that they knew about, people that were major religious figures. One way back when, Elijah, one more recently, John the Baptist. Who do people say that I am? What's going on? Then he asked them directly, who do you say that I am? And Peter says, Messiah. In Matthew it says, Messiah, the Son of God. And this confession of Peter, which is in the 8th chapter of the Gospel of Mark, in Caesarea Philippi, is the turning point, or the good word would be the fulcrum point, where things, it's going to go one way or the other. And after Peter's confession, you are the Messiah, then the point is turned toward Jerusalem, toward the passion of Jesus. So Peter confesses, you're the Messiah. He has the answer. But then Jesus goes on to tell him what that means. He will suffer. There'll be tribulation, trial. And then on the third day, he will rise from the dead. Suffering and rising from the dead. Well, that was brand new to Peter. So Peter said, no, that's not it. Peter rebuked Jesus for saying these kinds of things. And then Jesus said to Peter, besides, get behind me, Satan, your mind is on earthly things, not heavenly things, not divine things. Your mind is on earthly things, not divine things. In other words, Peter had the confession, Jesus is the Messiah, but he wanted to fit it into his worldview. Well, this is what the Messiah is. This is the Messiah that makes sense. This is my religious worldview, not only mine, but seemingly everybody he knew, this is what they thought. And what Jesus was saying about suffering and rising from the dead did not fit his worldview. Your mind is on earthly things, not divine things. What if something has happened in history, in the world, in people's lives, such that all of our systems and all of our worldviews, all the ways we try to make sense of the world and of ourselves and of each other, was completely upended. Completely transformed. That to have our mind on earthly things will never lead us to truth. Not ultimate truth, But the real meaning of everything, the meaning of life, the meaning of ourselves and of each other, cannot be had with an earthly mind. Jesus refused to fit everyone's perception of who he is and what he is and what he means. And this is what led to the conflict. He could not be adapted to the usual way of doing things. He could not be located within how people saw the world and saw God. And even when he was located, you might say, on that one place that demonstrated above all human power over other lives, a crucifixion, a execution, the power to kill. And located, you might say, within the parameters of what was considered justice through the courts of Pilate, or located with where heretics, if you will, go, where the religious system of the day, in a sense, put him. Even in that place, he was not really to be located, to be found, or to fit. The cross itself would not hold him in place where we have put him. So God has entered the world, you might say, with God's own worldview. And it rearranges and disturbs how we think about things and how we think about ourselves. Jesus also said in this gospel, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it." Well, we seem to find ever more sophisticated ways of trying to save our own life. Ways of making everything have meaning that we bestow. Something that will make sense to us. What Jesus is saying in this confrontation, if you will, with Peter and his disciples is a lesson we periodically, regularly, maybe even every day, have to learn. The lesson that Jesus is not here to fit our worldview, our perspective, what we think would be meaningful, or maybe what we think would be beneficial. Peter Peter, who had the right confession, you are the Messiah, but didn't know what it means. Peter, who had to be taught, who had to be rebuked, who was told his mind was on earthly things, not divine things. Well, this Peter went from trying to fit Jesus into his religious worldview to dying for him. Peter ended up living what Jesus was teaching him. It was to become his life. To put it another way, it went from Jesus not fitting into Peter's perception, worldview of what a Messiah is about, to Peter living the life Jesus gave him to live, which would mean his own suffering, his own death, and then his own resurrection. The course of history, the narrative of life, the way of making sense of this world and of ourselves and of each other was changed, transformed, absolutely and eternally with the arrival of Jesus. And this means, and this is the hard part we continually have to learn, this means that Jesus is not here to fit into or to affirm our worldview or worldviews, our philosophical worldview, if you want to call it, our scientific worldview, our social worldview, our economic worldview, our political worldview. Jesus is not going to fit if we are faithful to Him. He cannot be located on a map we have drawn for ourselves. He is here as the Lord of history, the Lord of life. And this means, again, something we always have to be learning and relearning. This means that we are not here to make sense of everything that is. We are not here to make sense of what happens all the time. We are not here to give definitive explanations of everything, to have complete understanding of everything. We are not here to solve all our problems. We are not here to resolve all tensions. We are not here to establish a harmony among everything. We are here to follow Jesus. We are here for what following Jesus means. We are here for the truth that is only known in that following. We are here to lose our life so that God can save it for us. So if we are here with unresolved issues, as we might put it sometimes, dangling threads, you might say, of existential angst, fears and anxieties and bothering things and things that don't seem to yield to our explanations or don't seem to make sense, that don't fit in the way we thought things are supposed to be. Then maybe we're ready to follow, ready to know, ready to be saved. Ready, like Peter, to be taught what it means to confess Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, the Lord.